Hello everyone. Today we're going to cover another advanced hotspot access control feature. We call it prevent account sharing. Basically, the objective of this feature is to prevent users sharing the same hotspot accounts between themselves, or rather multiple people using the same account to log into hotspot Wi-Fi, especially in a controlled Wi-Fi environment. For example, premium Wi-Fi. When you sell a voucher to a customer, you don't want this customer to use this voucher and also share it with their friends, so that their friends can also log in with the same credential to the Wi-Fi for premium access. Another key objective of this feature is for security purpose, because we want to tie down each user ID or the hotspot account to each particular user device, so that we are absolutely sure whoever logged into the Wi-Fi is really the actual user, because only he can log in from his device. So if he ever abused the internet, we can always trace back to the actual user and with his device ID, because he cannot deny that he lost his account or somebody steal his account to log into the Wi-Fi, because only his device, either his phone or his PC, can log in using the same account to the Wi-Fi. So that's basically the whole purpose of this feature. There's an online documentation you can always refer here under doc.ransnet.com under advanced feature, or you can just simply search prevent account, and then you can basically click to get to this page. So today's focus is really to go into the live demo on the configuration. I have already set up the lab, which is basically the typical topology, have the HSG and AP, and the logical topology is similar to what we always use here. We have a HSG and MAP, and my PC is here. So we just connect to one of the SSID, and I'll get access to the mbox UI. So I've already configured a landing page as well for this SSID VLAN 10. So there are two methods to configure account sharing prevention. One is manually lock each user ID or the user account with the authorized MAC address. So what this means is, for example, when we sell the voucher, we create the user ID, and we will actually bind the user ID to the actual device ID that the users will be allowed to access. So I have 3 testing devices here. So I'm just going to put in one of my device ID. So that means only this device can log in using this account. Okay. So this is configured on a per account basis. So I'm going to test login using my phone, which is permitted. The MAC address is permitted for this account. I'm going to log into, my testing SSID. So I will log in as demo user. So I get access. So if you check my connection status box. So I've logged into the hotspot, and if you check from the mbox UI, you can actually see that the user is online, and you can check the MAC address is basically exactly what we have set here for this account ID. So now I try to log in using another device, but with the same user account. So by definition, or as per what we have configured, the other device should not be able to access. Where is the browser? I'm just. So I'm going to log in using the same account. And it's been rejected. Okay, so that's basically the purpose, because the user account is only tied onto that particular MAC address, or the device ID. So what if you want to permit multiple devices to access using this account? Because some user may have a few more devices, so that we want to allow them to use as well. So you can just keep on adding new device ID to the same user ID, or rather new device MAC address to the same user ID. So I'm going to add the Samsung phone. And so I have two devices added, and I'm going to try with the same phone again. And right-free based on configuration, I should be able to connect. Okay, let me try to disconnect my Wi-Fi and reconnect. Not very familiar with the browser. Just now I was really logged in, so let me just try to re-log in again using the same device. Okay, so I'm actually able to log in using this device because this device MAC address is already permitted. So if you go to the online user, now we have two devices logging in using the same user account. Just bear in mind, this concept of locking down a user account to device MAC address is different from the simultaneous use. There's another feature we call it simultaneous use. The simultaneous, rather, number of concurrent devices. The number of concurrent devices, you can, let's say if you set two, you can use any device to log in as long as the number of logged in users, rather the number of logged in devices, are not more than two. But here, by locking down to a particular device ID or MAC address, that means you can only log in using these two authorized devices. So let's say I'm going to try with a third device just to make sure the feature fully works well. So I'm connected to the testing necessity. I'm just going to check my connection status. Login status, I'm not logged in, so I'm trying to log in using the same account again. So similarly, I'm rejected. Okay, I will not be able to log in. And now I try to add in this device ID again. So let's see if I want to authorize this device. So this basically is very flexible. You have full control on what are the devices you want to allow for the user or for this account to use. So now I'm going to log in again using this device, which is now authorized to use this account. So I'm now able to log in. And if you look at the online status, you'll be seeing 3 devices logged in using the same account, and these are the 3 authorized MAC address. So back to the documentation, there are 2 ways for us to assign authorized device MAC to login ID or the login accounts. But as you can see, it's really very tedious and it's very manual for us to configure the device MAC address for each user account. Imagine you're selling vouchers for thousands of users and you have to get the user MAC address to punch to each user account. It's going to be a very, very tedious work, and it's almost impossible to manage. So we have another feature, which is to auto-learn the device MAC address the first time when the user log in with this account. Which means, let's say I'm just creating a voucher, that means creating the username, password. And the first time when you log in, we auto-learn your device MAC address, and then we will bind it here automatically. So the administrator doesn't have to know what is your device ID and doesn't have to manually key in here. The system will auto-learn the first time when you log in. Basically, that eliminates the need to know your device MAC address and also manually to add in the MAC address. But of course, there's some small little loophole. That means if you get an account the first time, you give it to your friend to use, but then that account will bind to your friend and you cannot use it anymore. So you have to buy another voucher. So that serves the purpose of preventing sharing of vouchers or the user accounts. So how to configure this feature? We'll basically create a user profile. Let's say we call it log device MAC address, create a profile. And similarly, as you saw just now, we can actually bind multiple MAC address to the same user account. You can define to say how many device or the unique device you want to allow for this user account. So the initial, let's say if you're going to allow just one, the initial first device that log in using this account will tie to that user account. Subsequent logins using other device will not be permitted. Similarly, if you want to allow 3, then the first 2 devices that use this account to log in will be allowed for future login, and new devices will not be allowed. So what I would do now, I would just say 2. So that means the initial 2 new device that log in using this account, their device ID, the MAC address will be auto-tied to that account. So I've created a profile, so we just assign this profile to the user ID. And as you can see, you can sell many user ID now, and you just need to create one profile. And let's see what happens now. Okay, just now I was really forced to log out. Try to log in again. Demo user and demo user. So I'm logged in. So if you go to that user ID, and you can see that my MAC address now is automatically added, tied to this user ID. So that means it's not, I don't have to manually punch in here. So let's say we have another device to log in as well. Because in our profile, we allowed 2 devices to log in. Okay, so And back to the user, just to check the user account details again. So the second device MAC address is learned as well. So that basically maxed out our setting. In our setting, we allow only 2 unique devices to log in using this same account. So now we try to log in using the third device. So it's unsuccessful. It's been blocked. So as you can see, the auto-learn approach makes the configuration and user management extremely easy. And what this means, particularly very important for setting premium Wi-Fi when user can do the online purchase, because when they do the premium Wi-Fi purchase, they will just sign up and get a user account. And as it's not possible for us to bind the user ID manually to the device, because we don't know which device he will use to register. And we don't even know which email he will use to register. We don't know the user ID. We don't know the device ID. Then how can we do the control? So the good thing is, each user, once they do the self-registration, an account will be created, and each account will be tied down to a profile. Remember, we just need to set the control under the profile. We can use a Facebook sign-in as an example, which is similar to a premium Wi-Fi. That means when you sign in using Facebook, and user account will be created, and then we can enforce the control on the profile that is being assigned to the user. So let's say I'm now going to log in using Facebook. So log out and log in using Facebook. It's the same when you allow them to log in using premium profile or other purchase premium Wi-Fi. So I logged in using my Facebook because I've already tried before. My browser cached my Facebook credential. So what happens now, if you check the users, a user ID is added, and automatically each newly registered user is tied down to a profile. So the only thing we need to do is to create a profile if it is not there yet, and it's not. So I just add a profile. We will say, okay, this profile only 2 unique device can use for this profile, or maybe just 1. I only want this particular device that is doing the registration to have premium Wi-Fi access, so that he cannot share with his friend. But for the testing purpose, I will set it to 2. Okay, so I set it to 2, and now we try to use another device to log in. So I already have 1 device logged in. Just check my connection status and try to log in. Okay, just to make it more seamless, rather more fresh. So what we do is I would even delete this newly created user and log him out, all of them out. I just want to make sure, I just want to show that you really just need to create a profile first. And now we try login again. The first time the user tried to sign in. Back to use my device to log in. So the first device now logged in, and if you check, a user is added for self-registration or Facebook sign-in, and the MAC address is added as well for this device. And because I allowed 2 in the profile, so I'm going to use another device to log in. Using Facebook. So I'm just going to key my Facebook details. Just excuse me. Okay, login. So I'm logged in as well. And if you check the online status, I have 2 users logged in using the same ID because using the same Facebook account, and there's a 2 MAC address, and it's auto attached to that Facebook ID as well. And because my profile only allows 2, so now I try to use login using a 3rd device with the same Facebook account. And you will be rejected. Okay, so that's basically because I already entered my Facebook credential earlier, just to show you that I'm really key in the same info. I will just clear my browser cache. Sorry, apologize more for my fat fingers. Okay, I'm just going to key in the same Facebook credential. Gmail.com and yeah, so similarly is rejected. So just to show you that it's really the profile that is making the difference, I'm now going to change the profile to 3 because we are only allowing 2, so this one cannot go in. So now I'm just going to change to 3. And we're going to try again. So straight away I get access without changing my Facebook account. So if you go to the online status, you can actually see that there are now 3 devices logging in using the same account and with different device ID, and these IDs are automatically tagged or rather assigned to this ID here. So that very effectively prevents account sharing between different devices. Again, this can be used in combination of the number of concurrent devices, but it's very different from the number of concurrent devices because it's very, very specific and it ties you down to particular authorized devices. So if you put a 2 here, for example, that means only these 3 devices, 2 of these devices are able to access at the same time. So that's pretty much all for this feature. It's very useful for a controlled Wi-Fi environment for setting premium Wi-Fi access in the exhibition center or in hotels and some hostels or service offices. And that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week.